The amendment of the UBEC Act is therefore predicted on the argument need to overhaul the basic education sector, address an overwhelming impending need in basic education, bringing the Act in tandem with realities of the time, and address the identify key issues, challenges hindering the successful implementation of the universal basic education in Nigeria by the Universal Basic Education Commission (UBEC) as issue of out-of-school children, about 20.5 million UNESCO estimate 2022. Non-inclusion of early child care development and education, which are crucial aspects of children's lives that lay foundation for their future growth and success. Lack of adequate school infrastructure based on 2024 UBEC National Personal Audit Report of a total of 907,706 classes are required to conform to the pupil classroom ratio at primary level, while the JSS level, the deficit to be filled stand at 2,805 classrooms. Inadequate and low access to funding, such as non-allocation of additional funds for basic education by most states, but reliance only on the intervention by the federal government without matching it with the financial support, thereby eroding and stranded in public schools. Delay in release of allocated funds causing late implementation of the program. Failure by the state to assess the or utilize grant due to inability, unwillingness, or refusal to pay their 50% counterpart funding. The total amount of unassessed matching grant due to state between 2005 and 2018 was over 72 billion. This backlog 2005-2018 unassessed fund was cleared following the presidential directive in 2019 that counterpart funding outstanding against the state should be deducted from their parties' refund and credited to UBEC account, and thereafter state could assess their matching grant. To note that the period of idleness of fund witnessed huge gap in schools infrastructure and instructional material provision from 2019 to November 30, 2023. The unassessed matching grant has accumulated to 22,790,280,908.7. The affected following funds to accumulate and remain unassessed include decrease in value of unassessed funds due to inflation, increase in level of dilapidation of school infrastructure which require huge resources to fix, and keep funding for any unutilized for more than 2 years is against the principle of public accountability. Inadequate comprehensive sanction available to the Commission under the UBEC Act to enforce regulations, policies, and strategies. Basic education under UBEC Act is a right and of the Nigerian Child Section 1 UBE Act 2004, the African Charter on Human Rights and People Rights Gap A9, laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 also makes education of Nigerian child a right under Article 17. It is therefore authoritative that the UBEC Act contains provision to sanction states that do not provide the necessary infrastructure, conducive environment for basic education delivery. Gap in the Act on how the UBEC intervention fund can be disbursed directly to local government, even though the Act provides for the establishment of local government education authority in each local government and assign them roles and responsibility in the UBEC implementation. Currently, funds are disbursed to states through their SUBEB, and the bond determine how to utilize the fund. It should be noted that the local government are responsible for primary education provision, and given the financial autonomy to local government by this amended constitution, it is therefore necessary that a percentage of the intervention fund be disbursed directly to the local government through their local government education authorities. The application of the agreed sharing formula by the Federal Executive Council, which does not empower UBEC to intervene directly, invest or otherwise utilize the funds that have not been assessed by the state except by approved sharing formula. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, in order to address those issues, the bill seeks to amend the following section of the Act. 1. Amendment Section 214 of the Principal Act to include early child care development and education to right to a child to compulsory free universal basic education. Increase the scope stakeholder for compliance and fine for non-compliance. B. Amendment Section 3 of the Principal Act for free services in public early child care development, education, increase in fine for non-compliance, and inclusion of local government education authority as an enforcement of authority. C. Amendment Section 7.2 of the Principal Act to substitute the membership of Commission to be appointed by the President on the recommendation of the Minister of Education for clarity. D. Amendment Section 9 of the Principal Act to strengthen the function of the Commission for swift implementation of its mandate to ensure that the grant to state, local government, and other relevant agencies implementing the UBEC adhere strictly to approved formula as provided in the Act. E. Amendment Section number 11 of the Principal Act to increase the funding of the compulsory free universal basic education in Nigeria from 2% to 5% of the Consolidated Revenue Fund stipulated in formula for the application of fund, provide for forfeiture of the grant by state or for failure to assess the grant and how to utilize the forfeited grant. F. Amended Section 16 of the Principal Act to bring short title in tandem with the amendment proposed. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, in line with Order 17 Rules of 3 of the Senate Standing Order 2004 as amended and without prejudice to the provision and financial implication of the bill, if amended, subject to national annual accrual in the Consolidated Revenue and Fund approval of the national budget by the National Assembly, and therefore needed not to be attached. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I therefore passionately solicit your support in considering and passage of this bill, which seeks to amend the Principal Act to enable the early child care development and education strengthen states to meet their commitment to the federal government block grant and enable states and the Universal Basic Education Commission fully implement and actualize the compulsory and free universal basic education for all children of primary and junior secondary school age in Federal Republic of Nigeria. I thank you, Mr. President, and distinguished colleagues.
Second reading taken. This bill is to be consolidated with the earlier one brought by distinguished Senator Idiot, and of course, report from the committee the consolidated report should be brought back to the Senate for further consideration after passing through due process, and therefore this one is referred also to the Committee on Basic and Secondary Education. So we give you 4 weeks. Let me thank distinguished Senator Usman Lawal, Chairman of the Committee on Basic and Secondary Education, and hope that the advice given by the Senate will be adhered to. The two bills should be consolidated because education is very paramount, and the number of out-of-school children are walloping on a daily basis. And for us to make progress as a nation, we must reduce the number of people that are susceptible to being recruited into banditry and kidnapping and other vices. I believe education is the key to understanding even the dynamics and the metrics of government.